We're about to watch Robert Brame attempting to free a guy from jail who has been framed for starting fires in California and wanting to present the evidence that shows he could not have possibly started these fires.
Anyway, yeah, I had to put that in there. Oh, here's the gentleman that's in jail in Mariposa. He's been in jail since last June, and they say he did it. They have overwhelming evidence. They have zero evidence. I spoke to his daughter in Alaska and his lawyer. The lawyer doesn't believe me. I told him, watch my videos, and I'm going to be in that courtroom in his first appearance. I showed up in the courtroom in Mariposa somewhere about a month ago. He saw me, and he represents everybody in the courtroom. He's the public defender for every criminal coming in there. He represents everybody. So I saw this guy, poor guy, coming in. He's chained up, handcuffed, chains around his ankles. Been in jail since last June. Is he a super scientist we've never heard of? He could have never started these fires. They framed him and put him in jail. So in the courtroom, his lawyer walked over and talked to the prosecuting attorney. They were whispering, looking at me across the room. It's a very quiet room. Then they went over and talked to the judge. The three of them are looking at me and whispering. They went in the back room and disappeared. When they came out, the judge said, we're postponing this trial till 2 months from now in March. No reasons at all, nothing. They saw me in that courtroom and they didn't like it. They didn't even give a reason why they're postponing it. So this poor gentleman's got to sit in jail for 2 more months.
Oh, that is how they do it. There is so much funny business going on, and it's not funny.
Yeah, and his lawyer, they say, oh, he really wants me to help. He's not called me or reached out to me at all. This is a board I found is what is a year and a half now or 2 years. It has a little nail in each burn spot. If you look close, some of them fell out when I was moving it. It was still there about 3 weeks ago. It was still there laying on the ground. So I brought it home. I've got that evidence. I'd love to bring that in the courtroom and have the prosecutor tell me all about it. I just love to listen to that one. So
here we're going to watch the first couple minutes of a video that I titled "The Truth Would Set 79 Arsonist Scum Free, and a Blue Herring Keeps 8 Billion Savage Animals Civilized." What you see there is a statement that the Greece minister now confirms the arrest of 79 arsonist scum for the out-of-control fires raging in Greece that have killed at least 21 innocent people. This is why the blue herring matters, because taking the evidence into a courtroom trying to convince people that blue things didn't burn is not going to get these people out of jail, but demonstrating that electricity is flowing through the wood would get these people out of jail. But I can also make a case that it's the moral, ethical thing to do, to put these people in jail to keep the other 8 billion people on the planet from turning into total savages and tearing each other apart, in order to maintain the thin veneer of polite society for the remainder of the time that we have here. By the end of this video, I'll go over a small piece of some of these videos that I have. One of them, this one titled "Illustrating the Directional Flow of Undirected Energy," where I go over these wooden pieces that I have cut down and lacquered. And there's about 5 of these videos where I go over the hard evidence that I've collected over the 5 years that I've been doing this. And these pieces illustrate that it is electricity flowing through the wood which would free those people from jail. Just kind of doing this right now since I'm doing it. But all along this thing, the burn line follows the grain. And I started right over here because it shows you how it does a 180. Right there around that corner, as the grain does a 180, so does the burn line. Anywho, this one's one, there's a couple others. The reason I say I should have a turntable, this one, it does the spiral burn, but you can't really see it unless you turn it. And if you turn it, if you had it on a turntable, you could really see the spiral burn that starts right here up top. And goes down in and through the piece. So it's almost like impossible to see unless you're at the right angle. And get someone to spin it for you. That's one of the new pieces, so we'll call that one covered. On the spinny twisty burn pattern, this one literally does a barrel roll right through there, and you're looking through the hole of where it does the barrel roll. Corkscrew burn, and that's just one. It does two. So that's the top one where it does a corkscrew burn, a full 360, leaving this part unburned. Alright, and then you follow it back to here, and we got another one, because it actually starts burning right here. Burns inside there. That's one full revolution up to the point of the corkscrew, and then it keeps spinning the same way for another full revolution right there. Because it starts on this branch right there. Burns this way once, and then another spin right there. I will leave the link in the description to the video titled "The Truth Would Set 79 Arsonist Scum Free," which has all of the links within its description to all of these videos showing these wooden pieces that I've collected that illustrates the directional flow of undirected energy. So I'm just going to insert here that the other day Marfoogle News was talking about the Texas fires and how the electrical company has come out and claimed responsibility, with air quotes around it, responsibility, but not enough that they'll actually be able to be held liable. So the electrical company is coming out claiming some sort of causal relation to the ignition of the couple of the different fires. Because there were so many fires in Texas, they can't possibly say one created the next, and then embers blew from that one 5 miles over and created this other one. There was a bunch of different fires all at the same time in Texas, just like in these other incidences. So the electrical company is claiming semi, quasi, kind of, sort of responsibility for a couple of them. And when Marfoogle News was going over this part of the story, he kept hitting the drum roll that the electrical company claimed responsibility. Like it's the punchline of a joke. And he did it 4 or 5 times. It's like, okay, it's not funny after the first, second, or third time. 4 or 5 times. Yeah, the electrical company claimed responsibility for the fires. And he kept doing the drum roll as if it's the punchline of a joke, indicating no one believes that anymore. But they have to put something out there for the public to consume as a plausible reason and an explanation for these fires, so the public doesn't continue searching for the answer. Whether it's the 79 arsonist scum they've arrested in Greece, or this guy in Mariposa that Robert's trying to go get freed, or the electrical company coming out saying, yeah, we're kind of sort of responsible, but we're not going to admit enough that you can actually hold us liable for any of the damages or the injuries or the deaths that come about as a result of these fires, but we'll kind of sort of put it out there and just enough to create a news story, but not enough to be held in court as an admission of guilt. But they can create a news story out of it to run out there in front of the public to make the public think we've figured out the cause of these fires, so you need not worry your pretty little heads anymore or search for the answers anymore. Here you go. The electric company come out and said it was their stuff that did it. So the other question I have is, who are these people that they are framing? Are they just regular innocent people like Robert Brame says, this poor gentleman? Is he really a gentleman? Is there a good reason they've selected these people to frame for the cause of the arsons, whether it's the 79 people in Greece or this guy in Mariposa? I'd really be interested in discovering the history of these people. Possibly they're not as gentlemanly as you might think. What is the real reason they've been selected as the recipients of this frame job to be put in jail for something that the government knows they're not responsible? The government knows, has all the evidence that I have and that Robert has, and knows damn well these people are not responsible for these fires. So why is it that they have selected these particular individuals to put in jail and say are the cause of the fires? Maybe you're in some high-level games, Robert, and you don't know what you're playing with, and the truth doesn't matter. Like you saw when you went into that courtroom, the prosecutor, the public defender, and the judge are all in on it. And if you think presenting the truth and the evidence is somehow going to set someone free, you're wrong. You're 6 years late to the party. Having said that, I'm going to let the rest of this video play that they put out the other day.
Hey friends, it's Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. You probably know my guest. Robert Brame is a forensic arborist, which means he studies trees, the behavior, the growth, and their demise, especially when it comes to fires. He has covered the Canadian fires, the California fires, the Lahaina fires, and now we're going to be comparing what happened in California to what happened in Chile. I was a little surprised that Robert, that people wanted me to cover Chile, because to me, it's like the patterns are so evident that we already know. But it is so fascinating when you tell us exactly how trees act, why they should burn, shouldn't burn, what's going on with the temperature, outdoor and all of outdoors, and then also in terms of materials that are melting that normally wouldn't, different types of energy, and we're going to be covering all that. So welcome back to the show. And I know you've got a slideshow for us, so why don't you take it away?
Oh, well, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you about all this craziness in our world. Can see that photo fine?
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, mountain stuff. That's what I've done for half a century. Well, I have inserted a couple of photos in here that are off the internet because they're very telling photographs. This was the first one I believe I ever saw in Santa Rosa, California. The year was 2017. And all the homes are just gone, white ash, hardly any black showing. But yet, what I saw was trees up and down every street and between houses. That doesn't work for an old mountain man like me. I've learned every tree in the state years ago, and I've had thousands of campfires. It doesn't matter what you put in a campfire. It burns in 1 minute, any needle, any leaf. So this didn't go well for me. And I went up there a couple of months later and walked every street I could for the whole day. And it was baffling. Nothing made sense to me. A year later, Paradise, California, I saw those pictures. This one also. 15,000 homes were just eliminated. White ash again with few metals. And there's the ponderosa pine, the #1 forest tree in California that burns more often than any other species. And by the way, there's 22 different species of pine in California. This is almost inhabits every life zone we have, from the coastal mountains to the inner coast range, the northern mountains, the entire Sierra Nevada, and the transverse range from Santa Barbara over to San Bernardino. We have them everywhere. They didn't want to burn that day or that month.
You know, Robert, you mentioned previously as we were preparing for the show, that was the same number of homes that burned in Chile as well.
That's what I've read.
Yeah,
14 or 15,000.
It's extraordinary because, when back in the day, we're both Californians, and you have the California, Santa Ana winds down in Orange County area where I am, and the fires would usually be contained, and there would be very, very, very few structures that would be hit. And now we're hearing thousands and thousands and thousands. It defies logic, because isn't there more technology? Isn't there radar? Aren't there drones? Don't we have AI? Isn't there more funding? The number of structures that are damaged and obliterated should be fewer, not more. So let's keep going. You've got this picture that you took, which is stunning.
I agree. This was the Oak Fire I wanted to speak about. Happened, I guess 2.5 years ago, I believe, in the east of the town of Mariposa, near western Yosemite. And I saw foul play, so I drove up there, analyzed the fire aftermath all day. Anomalies everywhere. It's just the same stuff I'd always find. Houses missing. And here's a blue oak tree. A blue oak holds a ton of water, like all the oaks. Incidentally, there's over 500 species of oaks on the planet. We've got to go about 20 of them in California. They're burning from the inside out with nothing around to ignite them or get the flame on the inside. And the leaves on the trees, this is what I find. They fall over, or they're standing, and the leaves just refuse to burn. These are burning internally, and this is a young tree, 8-10-inch diameter. It should not have a cavity in it. Only old trees have that. Same fire aftermath, the Oak Fire. This is Ponderosa pine, our #1 pine in California. Baby ones, 10, 15 feet tall. Fire passed right by them, but refused to ignite the needles. This is one of my fire starters when I'm camping. Find some needles, put them in there with your paper, and you've got flames pretty darn quick. Well, this fire went right by it, forgot to burn the leaves or needles, and then the needles have been falling off the trees after. This is months later, perhaps 2 or 3 months later.
And stay on this photo for a moment, Robert, because the ground is black, and you're surmising that the fire is underground.
Well, I think the ground itself is on fire for one of 3 different reasons. They're spraying us like bugs every day. That's one of them. The water content or moisture content in the soils. Water heats up the fastest in a microwave. And also the metals in the ground, whether they're ferrous or non-ferrous, there's always different types of metals everywhere. And any of that in a microwave starts sparking, or you get a flame out of it. So and if you look around, you'll see all the needles, they just refuse to burn.
And Robert, that puts me in mind back when we were talking about Lahaina, and they said there was no water and there were no firefighters on the scene. Water does not put out electrical fires, magnetic fires like this. That, I think, is another interesting aspect when we see so few firefighters on these scenes. It's right. We said, they're going to have to come up with another name. They're calling it a forest fire, but the forest isn't on fire.
Yeah. I've read a lot of articles and people sending me stuff about, instead of laser, maser with an M, maser. I've not looked into it, but there's another area to study in this genre.
Yes.
Maser's a new one. We don't know. We're just playing catch up, and all I can do is show evidence of unnatural things that I've never seen for 49 years. Here's the mobile homes. These are usually first to be attacked. Paradise had 10 mobile home parks. All 10 were eliminated, and the trees were still there. You saw the picture. This was a mobile home, and I took it mostly for the trampoline and the plastic kids' toys and the synthetic little upright things there. I find a lot of trampolines. This is the worst one I've seen. Usually they're intact. I don't know where it was on the grounds. And same with the toys. I don't know. But I see toys quite often melted or burned. The trees in the foreground do look like a normal forest fire, but these are oaks. They have a high water holding capacity. And that's what we're finding on fire more than the conifers, which is backwards.
Yes, it is all backwards, isn't it?
This is the way I find every vehicle with no exception, zero exceptions. Every single window I've seen has melted out. To melt the glass, it starts melting at 2,500 degrees. That never happens in a normal wood forest fire that we know of. Forest fires top out at 1427, unless you're using accelerants. And these seats could never get to those temperatures to melt all the windows out, no matter where they're at. Paint always looks like this. And yet, 3 to 4 feet above the car are these ponderosa pine needles. Never seen blackened needles, and I've had thousands of campfires at all elevations. I never see them turn black. If it's black, there's black for a microsecond, and they burn up really quick. But I see black everywhere in these fires. They refuse to burn. And you have everything. You have hot days, you have the fuel, you have the heat, but they do not want to combust.
It's stunning because they're combustible, yet we're looking at the photo and there's melted glass. So let's talk about the temperatures of outdoor fires and why this is such a strange anomaly.
Yeah, outdoor fires rarely get up to 1427, sometimes a little more, unless you have accelerants. Of a ground fire, just a grass an inch off the ground, short grass, starts around 300 degrees, works its way up. These cars, to do this kind of melting, you really have to get extreme temperatures, which forest fires do not approach that temperature.
Yeah, we're talking 2,500 degrees and above. And it was so strange to me when my pal over there in Hawaii, Joshi, the governor, he said, oh, it's amazing that this fire in Lahaina got up to 2,500 degrees as a way of explaining all of this behavior that is not normal. That is like saying, oh, good news. There are now 25 hours in a day. You know, natural laws do not change. They are consistent. And friends, that's why Robert, you know, I'm so grateful that you're here, Robert, to speak in your calm, wise way with your own personal experience and these images that you're analyzing for us. So yeah, please, let's go on.
Yeah, I have a long or huge background in plants, studied plants for almost half a century, 49 years now, cooking on a campfire at all elevations and spending a lot of time in the mountains. I mean, that's how you climb 130 mountains. It takes years to get all that done. And generally a plant scientific book in my hand for all those years. And that's been my nerdy fun. So I've had my fires. I've seen all the trees burn at every elevation. I know which ones burn and which ones really don't burn. And for this gentleman in Hawaii to say the temperatures have changed, he's either a paid shill to repeat what somebody's taught him, or he's very ignorant, maybe stupid. Perhaps all,
perhaps all three.
Let's hope that nobody believes anything he says if he's talking like that. I've not heard it, but let's hope nobody believes this stuff.
Right. And you visited these fires and or the fire scenes many times and gathering your own evidence. And then we are going to talk a little bit, friends. Robert has been following the Oak Fire where someone has been accused of arson and it doesn't make sense. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll also look at Chile coming up. Please continue, Robert.
So this is the Oak Fire. And after a couple more fires I looked at nearing Paradise, or I'm sorry, Mariposa, I've seen 40 aftermaths now and taken 115 trips to all of them. Exhaustive work. So this is the Oak Fire. The baby ponderosa pines are burning at the base, but they won't burn the needles that are lower down. That's the fuel for a forest fire. The manzanita on your right, the coast canyon live oak on your left, they all refuse to burn. This is a board I found is a year and a half now or 2 years. It has a little nail in each burn spot. If you look close, some of them fell out when I was moving it. It was still there about 3 weeks ago. It was still there laying on the ground. So I brought it home. I've got that evidence. I'd love to bring that in the courtroom and have the prosecutor tell me all about it. I just love to listen to that one. So and the house here was a mobile home, and that was burned to the ground and taken away. And the only tree on the property that actually burned was the extreme water lover, a Lombardy poplar, in the willow family, holds a ton of water, a little 4 or 6 inch diameter tree. For whatever reason, they cut that down and took it away. The bottom was burned. So I've got this evidence here. Also, the garden hoses. I see this often if I get there quick enough. The hoses are okay, but where they're attached to the spigot in the ground, the metal, that's where they'll melt or burn, where the metal is, not the garden hose out in the field.
Amazing.
Yeah, and there's some wood there. That wood's been sitting there. Dry wood doesn't burn too much in these fires. This is, I put on a close-up lens and I get in close. You see this 2 screws and this metal piece?
Yes.
That's the only place this board burned. And I find this everywhere. I take my time going through here. Yeah, the flying embers, they say on every media outlet. The flying embers. Well, I saw this board that only burned where the 2 screws are in this metal piece. So I got my close-up lens out and took a picture of it. The only place on this whole, whatever it is, 2x6 burn is only where the metal is. So it leads me to believe the metals themselves are on fire. Incidentally, I see old swing sets with plastic seats and slides. They're unaffected, and I noticed all those bolts and fittings are stainless steel. So I don't think stainless steel is actually heating up or burning. This was an old shot. The mobile home's gone. All the steel girders under the mobile home are twisted. I don't think the mobile homes have enough weight to twist those things around like that. And there's your forest, virtually untouched, except for the trees closest to the house.
Stunning.
This is many months later because some of the trees are regenerating down here on the left. This is the way I find every car with 0 exceptions. This is still the oak fire. The windows just melted in, exceeding 2,500 degrees to get it flowing like that. They all look the same. These cars have been taken away. I will find aluminum rims or alloys melted out or chunked out, like below. That's what my own term. They're chunked out. And perhaps that's the alloy. And you see all the trees in the back. There's incense cedar also. Didn't want to burn up. No, and all the needles were falling on the ground. The trees didn't burn. This is a pile I had to show. They go to your yard, they collect everything on your property and put it in a pile to be taken away. It was behind a container of freight and they forgot about taking it away. There's your plastic little pots, blue, pink, the green garden hose, the black PVC going over the top, the plastic share. All this would have melted in a fire. But nope, it didn't. Everything that should burn in a fire doesn't, and everything that shouldn't burn does. It's opposite world. We're going to start taking out fire insurance on our trees because the trees aren't burning, just the houses are.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, another vehicle that's been taken away, they mark them like this when they're done with them. No trees burned in the picture. Some forest fire, huh?
We need a new name.
Yeah, I call them new fires.
There you go.
This is a valley oak on the right that's burned internally, and it's open a little bit right there. Oak trees don't burn like that unless they're the oldest oak in the forest. And the rest of your forest really didn't want to burn.
Wow.
I think this place might have burned down. I've tried to call them and interview them. It's a B&B up there, and I just get disconnected. I couldn't find their house. It was up the driveway, but their sign told me everything. The nail on it, the big lag bolt, it only burned in close proximity to that bolt. Different views. Another bolt down below.
Wow.
Didn't burn any other side of the wood, just where the metals were. That's still there.
Amazing.
Another one of the cars up there, and whole forest untouched. Amazing heat to do that to this car.
Yeah.
This is a madrone tree. This is one of the largest members of the blueberry, cranberry, huckleberry family in California. Madrones are north-facing slopes or near water source, like the creek just below it. A madrone burning internally, I think only because of the water content. This is my original photo. I went back there and the tree's gone. It was maybe 30 feet tall, but down the hill. It wasn't hanging over the road. I don't even know why they cut it down. So I couldn't find that one. They got rid of that evidence. But
wow.
there's a madrone. Here's just looking across at the hillsides. Show me a burned up tree. It goes along the ground because I really believe the ground itself is on fire. And the trees don't burn unless you've got metals around or high water holding capacity trees. And there's some in there, but not too many. They're mostly conifers. In the middle, there's some canyon live oak. That's all right. We're over to Lahaina now. Yeah, we're over at Lahaina. That was an important photograph. Pines and eucalyptus everywhere. Nothing burned, just the building. Whether it was a house or what, I don't know. And maybe a staged photograph with this guy in the foreground.
I was thinking about that, Robert, because he's dragging that branch, that limb, and there's all of the unburnt leaves on it. And it's so strange that it's almost like they're mocking us. So much of what we're seeing defies natural law. I mean, the law of the land, right? That we know is true. This is so strange that we're seeing those unburnt leaves.
Really, to me, a tractor comes in there and just planes off the whole thing, puts it in dump trucks and takes it away. He's just spinning his wheels, getting nothing accomplished.
Yeah.
Wasting his time. Anyway, yeah, I had to put that in there. Oh, here's the gentleman that's in jail in Mariposa. He's been in jail since last June, and they say he did it. They have overwhelming evidence. They have zero evidence. I spoke to his daughter in Alaska and his lawyer. The lawyer doesn't believe me. I told him, watch my videos, and I'm going to be in that courtroom in his first appearance. I showed up in the courtroom in Mariposa somewhere about a month ago. He saw me, and he represents everybody in the courtroom. He's the public defender. For every criminal coming in there, he represents everybody. So I saw this guy, poor guy, coming in. He's chained up, handcuffed, chains around his ankles, been in jail since last June. Is he a super scientist we've never heard of? He could have never started these fires. They framed him and put him in jail. So in the courtroom, his lawyer walked over and talked to the prosecuting attorney. They were whispering, looking at me across the room. It's a very quiet room. Then they went over and talked to the judge. The three of them are looking at me and whispering. They went in the back room and disappeared. When they came out, the judge said, we're postponing this trial till 2 months from now in March. No reasons at all. Nothing. They saw me in that courtroom and they didn't like it. They didn't even give a reason why they're postponing it. So this poor gentleman's got to sit in jail for 2 more months.
Oh, that is how they do it. There is so much funny business going on, and it's not funny.
Yeah, and his lawyer, they say, oh, he really wants me to help. He's not called me or reached out to me at all. So anyway, I was going back to Hawaii. I stuck that in the wrong place. Everybody knows about the blue umbrellas, and here's that banyan tree in Hawaii with the building in front, and the entire terracotta roof is missing. Somehow that tree didn't want to burn up with all the ambient heat on every side of it. That one's phenomenal. And there's that plastic play structure in Hawaii. Didn't want to melt, but the houses, take a look at them. Yeah, plastics are unaffected in microwave. They are microwave safe.
Stunning.
Some of the cars, now we're in Chile. This is in the country of Chile. I don't know if the cars were stacked or if they were just pushed out of the way, but all of them look the same. Windows are gone, aluminum rims are melted out, steel rooms are intact. Tried to find a lot of trees.
I'm going to add my explanation of why I think this happens. They're about to mention that they saw this same effect after 9/11 from the cars down the road that were flipped on their tops. And we also saw video of the same thing in the Paradise Fires where cars were flipped over. Hold on. So, if you take a magnet and push it down against the table, you have one magnet sitting on the table and another magnet in your hand. If they are opposite sides facing each other, it will suck right up to the magnet. But if it's the same, the positive, there will be a repelling force where they push away from each other. And when you get that magnet that you're pushing down against the other one, slightly off at a slight angle, it will flip the other magnet and then suck it up to it. So there's an opposing repelling force between the two magnets that's so strong that if you get it slightly off center, it will flip the other magnet around and then suck it up to it. It is an electromagnetic phenomenon that is doing this to these cars, like magnetism flowing through the ground that creates a positive and a negative. I don't know enough about it to describe it or understand it any further, but I think that's probably what's happening to these cars. That's how they get flipped on their top. That's how you get one of them stacked on top of another, is it basically turns these cars into magnets and can flip them over or suck them onto one another. It's bizarro world, and technology that is far enough advanced is indistinguishable from magic to the person who doesn't understand the technology. Another thing that he mentioned was the stainless steel doesn't seem to be burning. And I've heard that same thing from other people that draw my attention to this thing called magnetic resonance induction, or resonance induction heating, where you basically use magnetics to heat up metal and make the metal burn. But stainless steel doesn't work that way. Like, stainless steel isn't magnetic, so thus it doesn't burn in these fires the way all of the other metals do.
In that city, there wasn't too many, but I found some here.
Yeah, there weren't too many. So what exactly was the fuel source? Friends, as you know, when there's fire, there has to be heat, oxygen, and fuel. Though that's the 3 points of fire being able to burn or to go out. So what exactly was combustible here?
Wow. There's a eucalyptus to the right, and on the far left, those are eucalyptus. So there's some trees in here, and these houses, I guess just cement and stoneworks left. Had to really dig on the computer to find this. Incidentally, 14 to 15,000 homes are missing, and over 100 people have passed away.
In the United States, or other Western countries like Canada and Greece, the houses are turned to a white powder and there is nothing left of them. Just like we saw the Texas governor say the other day that in standard fires, there's some sort of semblance of the structure that burned remaining after the fire, but in these fires, it's gone. Nothing but a white powder ash remains. Over there in Chile, you can see there is quite the remnants, because their houses are built of stone and cement, and they don't have wiring running through the walls, and they don't have an underground grid of rebar in the foundation. Because of the different building materials, they have a remnants of their houses left after these fires move through in ways that we do not see in other Western countries, and it is because of the building material.
And at least 300 are missing. A lot of this looks kind of common fires, but there's your trees in the background, virtually untouched. A lot of stonework here, I can tell. Same thing, though, when I saw the cars and the trees, the aluminum rims, here's the rim chunking out, the window's gone. Same exact thing. And there's some blue back there, oddly enough. That's something I have not looked into much. Amazing what's going on. This is going on worldwide. I don't know if they have big plans for this area with smart cities.
Yes, they do. Santiago, I'm going to be doing a video about that, about their smart city and their involvement with the United Nations. So it's, burn back better, as the saying goes.
We'll make it sustainable. Favorite term.
There you go.
Some more trees, of course. Exactly the same. There's your aluminum rims. What's melting the rim that far away from the vehicles? How does it stay liquefied 15 feet away? There's no more heat source. They all look the same. A technology we can't even fathom. Yeah, nice crisp pictures, trees everywhere. Every car is the same. If there was an exception, then I'd say, okay, there's anomalies, but I've seen between 600 and 800 vehicles in 8 years. They all look the same, no exception. There's never a window.
Let's stay there for a second, Robert, because it's so weird that the car is stacked on top of the other, and also how they always put people in the picture. So they either had to wait a long time for somebody to walk by, or they told them to do so. I find this a very like edited or produced photograph. Was there a crane that came and picked up one car and put it on top of another? If so, why isn't the car behind the woman walking? Why isn't that one picked up off the road? Are we supposed to think that somebody parked that way, or that the fire was that intense that it picked one car up and placed it on top of another? I mean, what are the conclusions we can draw from this? It looks like a very produced, edited photo to me.
If you look at the photographs in Judy Wood's book, that day 20-something years ago, same stuff, cars stacked on top of each other, upside down, with trees right next to them with leaves on them.
Yes, that day in New York City, right, Robert?
That's right.
Okay, we know what we're talking about.
Yep, amazing stuff. Yeah, this is probably their own police there. That's a good one. Only where the hardware is. And Big Basin, California, our state park with all the redwoods, they kind of burned up, but not like a forest fire. And down on the coast, just out of the park, these were blue gum eucalyptus, arguably one of the most combustible leaves on the planet. Fire went under them and refused to ignite them. This is one of my fire starters for my campfires when I'm in lower elevation areas. Grab green leaves right off the tree, stack them in your little area, and light them on fire with some paper. That's what they do. The oils in them are volatile. I wanted to show the tires for everybody. This is a polyester core tire. They don't melt. Fire went right past it. Did not melt it, disfigured at all. There it is on the label, polyester cord. This is what they look like when they have steel belts. All of them. The steel belts is all that's left. It's
wow.
one or the other, no exceptions. I've seen well over 1,000 tires. And this is a flyer I put together with my girlfriend, just for 10 bullet points to look for at all these fire aftermaths. I give them out every day to everybody I see.
This is fantastic. Robert, would you read those for us?
Sure. The first one, number 1, ground level fires start at 300 degrees, and the aluminum rims that are melted start melting at 1,221 degrees. That's the numbers. Auto glass melts at 2,500 degrees. Which never happens in a normal fire. Your plastics, synthetics, and rubber set away from the homes, they didn't burn unless there's some metal or some liquids next to it. Pine needles mostly didn't burn, and your forest fire tops out at 1,427 degrees maximum. That came right off the computer. Your water-loving or high water-holding capacity trees, like oaks, they're not water lovers like a willow, but they hold a ton of water. They're burning from the inside out everywhere I go. Number 6, homes are turned to white ash. Rarely blackened wood remains. 40 aftermaths I've been to, I rarely find blackened wood. Your pipes go underneath the road for water draining off. The steel culvert pipes, they're all replaced with plastic ones or cement. If there's too much water coming through, they build a big cement one or a giant cement pipe. Number 8 is your mobile homes are targeted first. More than anything, I see mobile homes are just missing, more than houses.
We're having a little bit of a technical difficulty, but I will just finish reading the list here. As you know, the truth is not very favored on these platforms. So the tires with steel belts burn completely, while those with polyester cores didn't. And wood fence posts burn where metal components are attached. So thank you so much, Robert. I'm going to wrap up here. I know that you've got the screen share going.